Girlfriend hides food and skips meals, and I'm afraid an eating disorder is threatening our relationship and her health. My girlfriend and I have been together for almost 3 years. I've never had issues coming. In fact, I would always finish too fast. But about 3 months ago, I've been having issues finishing. At first, it would just take me a little longer to finish, but now I can't finish at all. I don't know what changed. I'm still very attracted to her and I love her with all my heart. I can tell it's taking a toll on her and she feels like she's doing something wrong. It's actually affecting our relationship because she thinks I'm hiding something from her. She thinks I either am not attracted to her, I masturbate too much, I watch porn, she's not good in bed, I'm cheating on her, or I think she's loose. All of those things are obviously not true, but it's like she doesn't believe me. It sometimes puts a lot of pressure on me because I can't 100% relax if all I think about is to come for my girlfriend. And honestly, I don't really care if I finish or not, all I want is to make her feel good. And I tried to tell her that, but she says she doesn't understand what changed with me. She says it doesn't make sense that I can't come at all anymore. And honestly, I don't know too. Now she barely wants to have sex because she says that it just makes her feel like I'm using her body to masturbate and that I'm just like every other man. When she told me this, it genuinely hurt because it couldn't be further from the truth and I couldn't believe that after all this time together she thought I could do something like this. I don't know what to do. Every time I try to talk about it, she shuts me down because she thinks I'm lying to her. We ended up having a real fight about this the other day and she ended up crying saying that I don't think she's pretty and she stormed out. We're perfect in every other aspect and I don't want to throw away 3 years for this. I can understand how she feels from her perspective, that's why I'm asking, how can I make her believe that I truly don't know what's going on with me? Has any other man dealt with something like this? Any major change to any bodily function should be seen by a doctor. Delaying while wondering what's happening is not going to fix it. Did you start taking antidepressants or another prescription recently? Some of them cause anorgasmia, not coming. Medical professional here. Get checked out by a doctor to make sure there's nothing physically wrong. Also, a lot of these types of issues can be related to mental health, i.e., anxiety, depression, increased stress from life. Sounds like you have got inside your own head with this one. Now you are overthinking and worrying and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It can be really difficult to break this cycle and her attitude absolutely will not help. Maybe see a doctor for advice and try not to worry. Easy to say, I know. Yay. For about 3 months with my girlfriend, now wife, I had an issue with losing my erection during sex. It started off as a one-time thing, but when it happened a second time, she got self-conscious and frustrated, and I was embarrassed, and it spiraled from there. It got to the point where I was dreading sex because then I'd have to focus on this not happening and then, obviously, that causes it to happen. It wasn't until she talked to her friends about it, with my permission because it was a delicate situation, and they said it happens to most guys on occasion and the best thing to do is not make a big deal about it, lest he get in his own head and cause a self-fulfilling prophecy. Once she got that outside perspective, she stopped getting upset, which made me feel less pressure, and it all went away, almost immediately. Hello. My girlfriend and I have been dating for 3 years, and I have been having suspicions that she might be starving herself or at least has an eating disorder. We moved in together about a year ago, so I learned her routine pretty quickly. However, I've noticed some changes. A few examples: when she makes food, she never makes any for herself. When I ask her where her plate is, she says that she already ate. When I offer to share mine, she says no. If I insist, she takes the tiniest bite and says she's full, but then I hear her stomach growling a few hours later. Or, if we share a sandwich, she always takes the smallest half. Sometimes it's noticeably smaller, and when I mention it, she gets nervous and tries to change the subject. She's been vomiting a lot lately, and I'm scared that she's making herself throw up. She doesn't seem to have any other symptoms besides vomiting, and when I ask her if something is wrong, she says she doesn't know. Her vomiting doesn't seem real. One time I heard her making a lot of gagging noises and coughing, as if she was forcing it. I'm really scared for her. Some of her pants are looking a little loose on her now. Again, maybe it's normal, but I don't know. I talked briefly to my sister about it, and she said that I was imagining things. But I know my girlfriend. I live with her. I feel like she's going through something right under my nose, and I'm too blind to see it. One time, I planned a little date and cooked something for us. I told her I wanted to try a recipe I saw online. I wanted to eat it with her while watching a movie, but she said, "Oh no, sorry, I already ate before coming." I knew she was lying because she couldn't look me in the eyes. I told her that I thought we would eat together, and she said she forgot and that she's trying to cut out dairy, so she wouldn't have eaten it anyway. Again, lies. I dropped it because I didn't want to fight, so we just watched the movie in mostly silence. I heard her stomach growl a couple of times, and she just drank water. I was getting so irritated because I had food prepared for both of us, so why not just eat? We went to sleep, and I woke up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and found her eating the food I had made earlier. Why is she ashamed to eat in front of me? I have never done or said anything to make her insecure about her body or her weight. I don't understand. She's always preaching communication, so why not communicate with me? Am I imagining things? Also, she's been pressing me about going to the gym with her and making her a workout plan. Again, Maybe she's just trying to get into fitness, but with everything else, I'm scared it's something worse. If she is starving herself, how do I approach this conversation with her? Has anyone else dealt with something like this? How did it end? Update 1. A couple of days ago, I was agonizing over my girlfriend's eating disorder. Yesterday, I finally gathered the courage to have the conversation I'd been dreading. I woke up early, determined to talk it out, and told her not to make any plans that night because I had something special in mind. When she got home, I tried my best to make everything feel normal, though, inside, my heart wouldn't stop pounding. Lately, she's been so tense, as if she's always ready to bolt whenever I even hint at something serious. Every attempt to talk about this in the past has ended with her shutting down or walking out, so I was terrified it would happen again. I knew I had to avoid mentioning her physical appearance, since I'd read it could backfire and make things worse for her, so I started gently, saying, "Baby, I want to talk to you because I've noticed certain things and I'm really worried. I want you to know I love you more than life itself, and that's why I need to talk about this. I truly want to spend the rest of my life with you, but lately, I've seen you eating less, and it scares me. I know we've touched on this before, but I really need to talk. I care about you, and I'm getting scared something will happen, because not eating and throwing up can really hurt you. I'm not trying to argue, but if we're in a relationship, I have to bring up what's scaring me. Will you please help me understand what's going on? I love you more than anything, please just help me help you." She brushed it off at first, claiming I was turning nothing into something, insisting she was fine. "I've never seen you act like this in 3 years, I told her. She replied, "Well, of course, I'm not going to be the same at 20 as at 23. I pleaded, "Please, just talk to me, tell me what's going on." For a minute, she was quiet. Then, out of nowhere, she asked, "Do you think I look skinnier?" I froze. People had warned me not to acknowledge weight loss, but I didn't want to lie to her, either. I said, honestly, that I didn't know and that I really didn't notice things like that. I brought up her throwing up, telling her it worried me, especially because it seemed so secretive, almost deliberate. "I just want to help you, please," I whispered, and suddenly, she blurted out, "I know you don't find me attractive anymore." I was stunned, completely thrown off, because it couldn't be further from the truth. She started sobbing, harder than I've ever seen. She was totally inconsolable. Through her tears, she said she knew we had problems in the bedroom because I wasn't attracted to her. I'd had trouble finishing, which had put a strain on us before. We had a real talk about it, I saw a urologist, and I thought we'd work through it. But now, she was convinced that my issue was because she was ugly and fat. None of it made sense to me. She even conjured up examples I hadn't even thought about, like, apparently, a time a few months ago when, right as I was about to finish, I supposedly glanced at her stomach and that was the reason I didn't. I tried to reassure her, telling her none of that was true, that I might have a medical thing going on but that I absolutely love her body, her face, everything about her. "Stop lying," she kept telling me. That's when the real shock hit. She said she didn't even want to get skinny. That everything she's doing, starving, throwing up, was for me. I was speechless. I had zero idea how to handle that. All I could do was hold her while she cried in my arms. I joined her, crying, too. I just kept repeating how much I loved her and that I wasn't going anywhere. Eventually, the sobs subsided and exhaustion took over. She fell asleep wrapped in my arms. While she slept, I started furiously looking up couples therapists and eating disorder specialists. When she woke, she looked a little brighter. She still wasn't eating, but the weight on her seemed a little less crushing. That's where things are now. I'm nervous about pushing her toward therapy or even just trying to get her to eat, scared I'll upset her by pushing too hard. I even called in sick to work just so I could spend time with her. I want to help, I really do. I'll try to convince her to get help, but right now, I'm just taking it one step at a time. Update 2. It's been 2 weeks since my last update, and honestly, I don't even know where to begin. Everything I thought I understood about my relationship has been turned completely upside down. After our emotional conversation, things seemed to be getting better. She agreed to see a therapist, and I was so relieved. We had a few good days where she actually ate meals with me, and I started thinking we were finally on the right track. She even seemed more affectionate, telling me she loved me more often, holding my hand while we watched TV. I was cautiously optimistic. But then last Tuesday, I came home early from work because I forgot my laptop. I walked into our apartment and heard her on the phone in the bedroom. The door was cracked open, and I could hear her clearly. At first, I thought she was talking to her therapist or maybe her sister, but then I heard her say, I know. He's being so clingy lately. Ever since I told him about the eating thing, he won't leave me alone." I froze in the hallway. She continued, "It worked perfectly though. Now he thinks everything is his fault and he's walking on eggshells around me. I can do whatever I want." Then she laughed. Actually laughed. "Trust me, he's not going anywhere. He's too guilty now." I felt like I was going to throw up. I quietly backed out of the apartment and sat in my car for an hour trying to process what I'd just heard. When I finally went back inside, she greeted me like nothing had happened, asking about my day, being sweet and loving. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying her words over and over. The next morning, while she was in the shower, I did something I never thought I would do. I looked at her phone. I know it's wrong, but I had to know if I was losing my mind. The text thread I found made my blood run cold. It was with someone named M, and reading through their conversation, it became clear this person knew intimate details about our relationship that she had no business sharing. But worse than that, there were messages about how she was handling me, how easy it was to manipulate me, and plans to meet up. The most recent message from 2 days ago said, "Can't wait to see you tonight. He'll be at his brother's place until late, so we'll have plenty of time." That was the night she said she was having a girls' night with her coworkers. I screenshot everything before she got out of the shower, my hands shaking so bad I could barely work my phone. When she came into the bedroom, towel wrapped around her, smiling at me, I felt sick. This person I'd been worried about, crying over, taking time off work for, she'd been playing me this entire time. But here's the thing that's really messing with my head, I still don't know what's real and what isn't. Is she actually having an eating disorder, or was that part of the manipulation too? Because she definitely has lost weight, and I've seen her throw up. But now I'm wondering if she was doing it for completely different reasons than what she told me. I confronted her yesterday. I showed her the screenshots, and her face went completely white. For a moment, she looked genuinely panicked, but then something shifted. She got angry, not defensive or apologetic, but angry at me. She said I violated her privacy, that I was controlling and paranoid, and that I was twisting innocent conversations with a friend. When I asked who M was, she claimed it was her coworker Michelle and that they were just venting about relationship stress. But when I pointed out specific messages that were clearly about manipulation and meeting up secretly, she got even more furious and said I was creating problems where none existed. The worst part? She turned it back on me. Started crying about how I don't trust her, how I'm making her feel crazy, how this is exactly why she's been struggling with food, because I'm so suspicious and controlling that it's giving her anxiety. And for a split second, I actually started believing her. That's how good she is. Right now, she's staying at her sister's place. She packed a bag yesterday and said she needs space to think about whether she wants to be with someone who doesn't trust her. Before she left, she looked me dead in the eye and said, "I hope you're happy. You've destroyed the best thing that ever happened to you over your own insecurities." I'm sitting here in our empty apartment, looking at all her things still scattered around, and I honestly don't know what to believe anymore. Part of me is wondering if I really did misinterpret everything, if I'm the one who's been the problem this whole time. But those text messages, they were so clear. I tried calling her sister to see if she was really there, but her sister just said she couldn't talk and hung up on me. I don't know if that's because my girlfriend told her some twisted version of what happened, or if she's not actually there at all. The thing that scares me most is that I still love her, even after everything, even knowing what I know. There's this part of me that wants to call her and apologize, to beg her to come home. Is that normal? Am I losing my mind? Update 3. It's been a month since she left, and I thought I was starting to get my head straight. I'd been going to therapy, trying to process everything that happened, and slowly beginning to accept that maybe I dodged a bullet. My therapist kept telling me that what I experienced sounded like emotional manipulation, and that the confusion I felt was actually pretty normal for someone who'd been gaslit for months. But then last Friday night, everything got turned upside down again. I was at my buddy Jake's place, just trying to have a normal evening for once, when my phone started buzzing nonstop. It was her sister, Sarah, calling over and over. I almost didn't answer because I figured it was just more drama, but something made me pick up on the fourth call. Sarah was crying hysterically. "You need to get to St. Mary's Hospital right now," she said. "It's Emma. She tried to hurt herself." I felt like the floor dropped out from under me. Despite everything that had happened, despite all the lies and manipulation, hearing that made my chest tight with panic. Sarah was barely making sense through her tears, but she kept saying it was my fault, that I'd pushed Emma to this, that she'd been devastated since I falsely accused her of cheating. I drove to the hospital in a complete daze, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. When I got there, Sarah was in the waiting room with Emma's parents. The moment they saw me, her mom started screaming at me in front of everyone, calling me a monster, saying I destroyed her daughter's life with my paranoid accusations. Her dad just stared at me with this look of pure hatred. Sarah pulled me aside and through her tears, she told me that Emma had been staying with her, barely eating, crying constantly, and talking about how she'd lost the love of her life over a misunderstanding. She said Emma kept insisting that Em really was just Michelle from work, and that I'd twisted innocent conversations into something sinister. She showed me the texts, Sarah said. They looked normal to me, just two friends venting about relationship problems. I felt like I was losing my mind again. Had I really misread everything that badly? But then Sarah said something that made my blood run cold. She kept saying she wished she could just disappear, that maybe if something happened to her, you'd realize how wrong you were and forgive her. That's when it clicked. Even in a hospital bed, even after supposedly trying to end her life, she was still trying to manipulate me. The timing, the message, the way it was all framed, it felt calculated. I asked to see her, and after a lot of arguing with the nurses and her parents, they finally let me into her room. She looked so small and fragile lying there, with bandages on her wrists. When she saw me, her eyes filled with tears and she whispered, "I'm so sorry. I just couldn't handle losing you." I wanted to comfort her, to tell her everything would be okay, but something held me back. Maybe it was the months of therapy, or maybe I was finally learning to trust my instincts, but I found myself really looking at the bandages on her wrists. They seemed neat. Clean. Not deep enough to be truly dangerous, but visible enough to make a statement. While her family stepped out to talk to the doctor, I sat with her in silence. That's when she made her first mistake. I deleted all the messages with Michelle, she said quietly. I didn't want you to keep obsessing over them and making yourself crazy. But I never told her I'd seen messages with someone named Michelle. I'd only shown her the screenshots with them and asked who it was. She'd claimed it was Michelle then, but how did she know I'd connected those dots unless? I decided to test something. I'm sorry about how I reacted to the messages about you two meeting up at the coffee shop, I said, making something up completely. Yeah, she said, not missing a beat. I know it looked bad, but we were just talking about work stuff. Except the real messages I'd seen talked about meeting at her apartment when I'd be gone. There was never any mention of a coffee shop. I excused myself to go get some air, but really I went to find Sarah. I pulled her aside and asked her directly, did Emma show you the actual text messages, or did she just tell you what they said? Sarah looked confused. She told me about them. Why would she need to show me? I trust my sister. That's when I realized Emma had been playing her family too, probably feeding them a completely different version of what those texts said. I thought about showing Sarah the screenshots I still had on my phone, but something stopped me. What if Emma really was struggling? What if I was the one who was losing touch with reality? I went back to her room, and she immediately grabbed my hand. Please don't leave me again, she whispered. I know I've been difficult, but I'm getting help now. The therapist here says I have abandonment issues from my childhood, and that's why I've been acting out. We can work through this together. Even then, even with all my doubts, part of me wanted to believe her. She looked so genuine, so broken. But then I noticed something that made my stomach drop. Her phone was sitting on the bedside table, and the screen lit up with a text notification. From M. The preview showed just enough. Hope the plan worked. Call me when you. She quickly grabbed the phone and turned it face down, but it was too late. I'd seen it. Who's texting you? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Oh, that's just Michelle checking on me, she said without hesitation. She's been so worried. But I could see the panic in her eyes. She knew I'd seen something. I stood up slowly. I need to go. Wait, please, she called after me, but I was already walking toward the door. In the hallway, I ran into the doctor who'd been treating her. I don't know what came over me, but I asked him directly, how serious were her injuries? He looked at me carefully and said, are you the boyfriend? The one who caused this situation? I could tell her family had gotten to him first with their version of events. I'm just trying to understand what happened. Well, he said, lowering his voice, between you and me, these weren't life-threatening injuries. More of a cry for help, really. We see this sometimes in young people going through relationship difficulties. A cry for help. Or another manipulation. I left the hospital that night more confused than ever. I drove around for hours, trying to make sense of everything. Was she really sick and I was just being paranoid? Or was this all part of some elaborate game I couldn't even begin to understand? I'm writing this now at 3 a.m., unable to sleep. Her whole family thinks I'm a monster. Part of me thinks maybe I am. But those text messages, the timing of everything, that notification I saw, it all feels too convenient. Tomorrow, I'm going to do something I probably should have done months ago. I'm going to try to find out who M really is. Update 4. I can't believe I'm back here writing another update, but I need to get this out because I genuinely don't know who I can trust anymore. Last week, I said I was going to find out who M really is. Well, I did. And I wish I hadn't. I started by doing something I probably should have done months ago. I reverse searched the phone number from those text messages. It led me to a social media profile for someone named Marcus. Not Michelle. Marcus. A 28-year-old guy who, according to his very public Instagram, works at the same company as Emma. But that's not even the worst part. I spent hours going through his posts, and there, buried in photos from 3 months ago, was a picture of him at some work happy hour event. Emma was in the background of one photo, but in another photo from the same night, they were sitting pretty close together at the bar. The timestamp on that photo? The exact same week I started having problems in bed. My hands were literally shaking as I scrolled through more of his posts. There were subtle things, photos of coffee cups from the same cafe Emma claimed to go to for work meetings, pictures of his apartment that looked familiar somehow, even a photo of a sandwich that looked exactly like the kind Emma would make for herself but claimed she already ate. But the real punch to the gut came when I found a photo he'd posted just 2 days ago. It was a picture of Emma sleeping in what was clearly his bed, with the caption "When babe is finally getting the rest she needs #mental health #support." Posted while she was supposedly in the hospital recovering from her suicide attempt. I screenshotted everything and sat in my car outside his apartment building. Yes, I looked up his address, and yes, I know how crazy that sounds. I wasn't planning to do anything, I just needed to see if Emma was really there. Around 6 p.m., she walked out of the building. Not looking fragile or broken like she had in the hospital. She looked normal. Happy, even. She was carrying takeout bags and laughing at something on her phone. I followed her back to the hospital. I know, this makes me sound like a stalker, but I had to know what was going on. I watched her change her entire demeanor before walking through those doors. The smile disappeared, her shoulders slumped, and she suddenly looked like the broken woman her family had been crying over. That night, I called Sarah. I couldn't keep this to myself anymore. Sarah, I need to show you something, and I need you to really look at it before you react. She was hesitant, but agreed to meet me for coffee. When I showed her the screenshots of Marcus's Instagram, especially the photo of Emma in his bed posted while she was supposedly hospitalized, Sarah went completely silent. This can't be right, she whispered. She's been texting me from the hospital every day. She's been so depressed, barely responding to anyone. I showed her the timestamps, the locations, everything. I watched Sarah's face go through about 10 different emotions before she finally said, "Oh my God. What kind of person does this?" That's when Sarah told me something that made everything click into place. Apparently, 3 years ago, before Emma and I got together, she had pulled a similar stunt with another boyfriend. She had claimed he was abusive and controlling, and when he tried to break up with her, she had threatened to hurt herself. Sarah said the family had rallied around Emma, cut contact with the guy, and never questioned her version of events. I thought she'd grown out of that, Sarah said, tears streaming down her face. I can't believe she's doing this again. Sarah agreed to help me confront Emma, but we decided to be smart about it. We waited until visiting hours the next day and went to the hospital together. When we walked into Emma's room, she immediately lit up seeing Sarah but looked confused about why I was there. "I thought you said you needed space," she said to me, putting on that fragile voice. "Emma," Sarah said, "we need to talk. All of us." I pulled out my phone and showed Emma the screenshot of her in Marcus's bed. The look that crossed her face, I'd never seen anything like it. For just a split second, her mask completely dropped and I saw something that genuinely scared me. Rage. Pure, calculated rage. But then, just as quickly, she started crying. "You don't understand," she sobbed. "Marcus has been helping me through this. He's just a friend from work. Yes, I've been staying with him sometimes because I couldn't handle being alone, but nothing is happening between us. I was so scared of losing you that I didn't want to tell anyone where I was really staying." Even as she said it, I could tell Sarah wasn't buying it anymore. "Emma, stop," Sarah said firmly. "Just stop lying. The photo was posted while you were supposedly here recovering. You've been playing all of us." That's when Emma's whole demeanor changed. The tears stopped like someone had flipped a switch. She looked at both of us with this cold, calculated expression I'd never seen before. "Fine," she said. "You want the truth?" "Yes, I've been seeing Marcus. Yes, I made up some of the eating disorder stuff to get your attention because you were being distant and I knew something was wrong. And yes, maybe I exaggerated how serious this whole hospital thing was. But you know what? You drove me to it." She pointed at me. "Your weird bedroom issues, your paranoia, your constant need to control what I eat and where I go, you made me feel like I was going crazy. Marcus actually listens to me. He makes me feel wanted." I just stood there, speechless. After everything, the months of worry, the guilt, the therapy, the sleepless nights thinking I was losing my mind, she was acting like this was somehow my fault. "How long?" I managed to ask. "Since February," she said with a shrug. "Right around the time you started having your little problem." "February? That was 4 months ago. 4 months of lies, manipulation, and gaslighting." Sarah stood up. "I can't believe you're my sister," she said, and walked out. I followed her, leaving Emma sitting in that hospital bed. In the hallway, Sarah turned to me and said, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry we put you through this. It's been 3 days since that confrontation. Emma has been blowing up my phone, alternating between apologies, threats, and attempts at manipulation. She's told me she's pregnant, she's not. She sent me a photo of a positive pregnancy test, but I reverse searched it and it's literally one of the first images that comes up when you Google positive pregnancy test. She's threatened to hurt herself again. She's had Marcus text me saying I'm harassing her. Her parents still think I'm the villain in all this." Sarah tried to explain what really happened, but they're choosing to believe Emma's version. I guess it's easier than accepting what their daughter really is. The strangest thing? I'm finally sleeping through the night again. For the first time in months, I'm not walking on eggshells or second-guessing my own sanity. My appetite is back. Hell, even my bedroom problems seem to be resolving themselves. Turns out constant stress and manipulation aren't great for performance. Who would have thought? I'm moving out of our apartment next week. Sarah offered to help me pack while Emma is at work. She said she wants to make sure Emma doesn't try to pull any more stunts during the moving process. I keep thinking about something my therapist said. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is refuse to enable their destructive behavior. I don't know if Emma will ever get the help she actually needs, but I know it's not my job to save her anymore. Marcus can have her. Good luck to him.